All right, everybody, welcome into the All Horned Frogs podcast, part of the All-City Network's cavalcade of college podcasts. Coming up on today's show, TCU sideline reporter Elvis Gallegos, a former Frogs player, wide receiver JP Richardson, the reigning Big 12 Special Teams Player of the Week, and as always, our good buddy Jamie Plunkett. We're going to bring him in from the bullpen to close us out, 247 Sports, to talk all things Frogs. We are live at the DLLS studios in downtown Dallas with episode number 4. This is game number 6 for the Frogs coming up Friday night. Let's not forget that Friday night against Houston in Fort Worth. The Frogs won game 5 on Saturday, and all of a sudden they're turning the right way in the wide open Big 12 conference. TCU won on the road last week, beating Kansas 38-27 at Arrowhead Stadium, which is not in Kansas. The usual suspects showed up with Josh Hoover, the quarterback, throwing for 356 yards and 3 scores, and Jack Besh, who is second in the nation in receiving yards, catching a career-high 10 passes for 131 yards and 2 scores. And then on the positive side, I mean, that's pretty positive, but even more positive, the ground game kind of kicked into gear last week. Cam Cook and Jeremy Payne combined for 126 rushing yards, which doesn't sound great, but believe me, where the Frogs have been on the ground, it is great. Payne, the true freshman, he gained 65 yards. Cook had 61 and scored an early TD. That seems like that's trending the right way. The Frogs have to run the ball to take some pressure off of Hoover, keep defenses honest. Anyway, Payne is going to have more of a role going forward, which, you see true freshmen pop up every once in a while. He seems like a talented guy. Sonny Dykes likes the way he's improved each week. And so, offensively, things are rounding into shape. Defensively, things got a little bit better, too. Let's give the Frogs some credit on defense. They had been just hammered by too many rushing yards against the alphabet soup of UCF and SMU. Kansas had only 176 yards, and Kansas is a ground-based offense. And a lot of those yards were in the first half. TCU made an adjustment. The Jayhawks ended up with as many running plays as passing plays. So at some point, either TCU made an adjustment or they convinced the Kansas coaches that the best way to win the game was through the air with Jalen Daniels, which is not a sure thing at all, as it turned out. Kansas came into the game averaging 68% of its plays on the ground. So they had a 50-50 split, and that played right into the advantage of TCU, which had given up nearly 600 yards on the ground in the previous 2 games. So the Frogs were also good on special teams, with our guest coming up at 3 o'clock, JP Richardson, taking a punt back 89 yards for a huge momentum-shifting TD. It really swung the game. Next up is Houston, the Cougars, in another Big 12 game. TCU's 1-1 in conference play, and all of a sudden that's right in the middle of the pack. There are 3 2-0 teams, 1 1-0 team, and then a bunch of other clubs, including Arizona, which knocked off Utah, who's the preseason favorite. Kansas State's in there. It's just kind of a mix mash of teams and scenarios, and everybody's not going to play everybody this year, so it's going to be interesting to see how this turns out. But at 1-1, and with a Houston team that's not very good standing right in front of it, TCU's kind of in a position to get back into the race. While TCU is 3-2 overall, all right, they're halfway to a bowl, qualifying for a bowl. That's fine. They want more. Obviously, Houston is 1-4 0-2 in conference play, and they have been shut out in back-to-back games. That's really hard to do in college football, getting shut out in back-to-back games. Gosh, and it's a real shock considering when you think of Houston football, you think of the run and shoot and Andre Ware and David Klingler, and gosh, that was a lifetime ago, obviously, but still, for Houston to slide so far back in first year coach Willie Fritz's first year after leaving Tulane, a lot of newcomers on this team, 63, which is staggering, even in this era of NIL. Some of the guys from Tulane came with them, not unexpected there, but still just find a fit for everybody. Chemistry, Sonny Dykes has harped on it. It's so important, and right now the Cougars might be struggling. Fritz, he replaced Dana Holgerson, who is now an offensive consultant at TCU. He and Sonny Dykes go way back, so that's another little storyline to follow. And then it's a Friday night game, which Sonny Dykes said he doesn't really like. I mean, the positive is you're on national TV. You get a big audience to look at your program. The problem is Friday nights in Texas are for high schools, and Sonny Dykes does not like taking attention away from high school players. It turns out that he said a lot of teams are off this week or have Thursday night games. So from a recruiting standpoint, it's not going to hurt. They're still going to be able to get kids on campus and on the sidelines watching the game. But I'm kind of with Sonny on this one. Give these high school kids Friday. It's life blood in a lot of these smaller towns, and always a big event on Fridays. So let's stop with that. All right, Big 12, you got that, Brett Yormark. No more Friday night games, at least in Texas. Let Iowa and Kansas State and Kansas, all that, let them play. Okay, so Houston, again, struggling on offense. Back-to-back shutouts, 7 points in the last 3 games. They have 2 quarterbacks. Generally not a recipe for success. In this case, both of them are kind of run the ball decent amount, so that gives them a little bit of a advantage. They've been unlucky with some penalties and some turnovers, but let's be honest, you're not very good if you're only scoring 7 points in 3 quarters, or in 3 games rather. But if you listen to Sonny Dykes yesterday during his weekly press conference, it sounds like Houston is just on the verge of breaking through and being an elite power, a big, strong, physical, athletic guys that can do a lot of stuff. It just, all the things that make offenses great. Of course, all coaches, whether it's paranoia or whatever, if they're trying to brace fans for the worst case scenario or brace themselves for the worst case scenario, they will build up the heck out of their opponents. I remember this is years ago doing a Big 12 conference call, and Kansas State with Bill Snyder and the terrible non-conference schedule they always had. They had beaten Louisiana Monroe 69-0 the previous week, and Bill Snyder came on and said, "Oh, we just caught ULM on a bad week." No, you didn't catch them on the bad week. They're a bad team. Quit making them sound so good. So anyway, Dykes likes his team. He likes the Frogs. He likes the way that they have improved the last 2 weeks. You might not have seen it against SMU, but he said there's improvement Saturday against Kansas, and he wants to see what the improvement is like this week and in 2 weeks. If the Frogs keep getting better, keep winning ball games, they're going to be in the mix in the Big 12 at the end, and that's all you can ask for. Especially after the SMU loss, like we said last week on the show, the saving grace of that game is that it wasn't a conference game. It was just a non-conference game. Obviously, a big non-conference game against your crosstown rivals. It has recruiting implications, all that jazz. But for it to not be a conference game turned out to be big, and maybe that's what helped the Frogs get over it and realize snap into shape here that their season is still in front of them. They can still attain a lot of the goals that they set at the beginning of the season. So it starts tonight or Friday night with Houston. Just a quick look at the series. TCU has won the last 9 meetings with Houston to even the all-time series at 13-all. Prior to last season's 36-13 Frogs win down in Houston. The previous game was in 2007 Texas Bowl. Andy Dalton outdueled Case Keenum. All right, 20-13. I remember the game well. Dalton was it was his true not his true freshman season, his redshirt freshman season, and it hadn't gone all that well. He and Marcus Jackson were sharing time. Gary Patterson got to the point where if Dalton had was turning the ball over, Marcus Jackson went into the game. But Dalton was pretty solid in this one. You know, Houston, the Texas Bulls played in Houston. He's from Katy. So he played well in front of his home crowd. I remember Art Briles was the Houston coach. They had their the pregame or the pre-bowl media availability at Morton's, which was really nice. Although I think I was late and didn't get a chance to enjoy a steak, which sucked. I remember it was there. We were there over Christmas time, though. She was at that point. She had just become my fiance, my wife. We spent the holiday with them. But I ended up working Christmas Day, going to practice, the Frogs practice, because it just seems like a Gary Patterson thing to do. But anyway, the Cougars' last victory in the series was 49-46 in 1992. So it's been a while. Those were the run and shoot days. TCU was 6-6 at home, 6-7 on the road in the series, and 1-0 in that bowl game in the neutral site, which really wasn't a neutral site because it was in Houston. But anyway, and the series really only dates back to 1976. The first game was 76. Houston won 49-21. That was their first year in the Southwest Conference. So while the conference broke up and some teams were shed, including Houston and TCU, it's not like the Baylor rivalry or the UT rivalry. Fairly, they can call themselves rivals, I guess, but they really aren't. They really aren't that much. But number 27 in the series, Friday night, ESPN. Check it out. I'm sure tickets are still available, just because it's a Friday night, honestly. But expect a good student crowd. I think they're doing Hispanic Heritage Month, celebrating that. So that will be a nice wrinkle, a little bit different. But 6:30 p.m., the game is on ESPN. And again, Houston, it looks like, is ripe for the pickings. This is a good opportunity for TCU to get back into things. The one caveat, though, interestingly enough, about the Cougars' defense is they're allowing less than 300 yards a game. So again, turnovers, whatever, penalties that have hurt the offense have really put the defense in bad positions. But it's not a bad defense, and so it'll be interesting to see how this high octane passing game does with Hoover and Besh, with the special bond that they've created here over the first 5 games. Savion Williams, JP Richardson, our guest coming up, also in there, and then Eric McAllister, who's come on real nicely and had a nice catch and run for a TD at Arrowhead Stadium. I'm sure that has boosted his confidence, the transfer from Boise State. So good things on offense. Things to look for. Is the defense back? Are they going to be able to stop the run? I'm sure that teams are still going to try to establish the run. It's not like TCU figured it out against Kansas. They might have figured out some things, but this isn't the Gary Patterson run defense. This is Andy Avalos's system that he's implementing. Players are still trying to figure it out, and it's not as easy as you think. But maybe, just maybe, that Kansas game got them on the right track. We're going to find out here shortly, because we're going to ask Elvis Gallegos about that and his insights as the sideline reporter for the TCU radio team. Then JP Richardson coming up at the top of the hour to talk about life as a Horned Frog in his second year after transferring from Oklahoma State. And then our boy Jamie Plunkett always has some pretty insightful things to say, and I'm sure he went to the game. He drove up the morning of the game. All right, he had to get up really early, so I want to hear that story. All of that is coming up. And if you really want to make the game a little bit more interesting on Friday night, download the Sleeper app. Sleeper, known for its best as a fantasy league platform, but they've really gotten into the daily picks, and so have I, because I have taken advantage of their code. If you use the code DLLS Frogs, you will get a $100 first match deposit. I am a living proof that if you deposit $100, you get $100 back for free. Some of the players you can choose from the TCU Houston game Jack Besh, more or less than 87.5 receiving yards, more or less than half a touchdown. So basically, is he going to score a touchdown? Josh Hoover, 318.5 passing yards. You can go negative. Will he throw an interception? There are a lot of ways, a lot of things to do with this. It's a fun time. You can do as little as $1. All right. And then believe me, I'm on the cheap side when it comes to this thing. But again, if you think you have what it takes, download the Sleeper app and use the code DLLS Frogs to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states, including the great state of Texas. Check out the Sleeper app today. And then when you have all these winnings from your great picks, go over to roback.com and honestly check out some of the best gear out there. It's quite simple. Best fit, best feel on their golf polos, their pullovers, their shorts. They even do joggers, and the quality of the gear really speaks for itself. One of the best things about it, they beat the heat, right? These are moisture wicking shirts, so they're not going to stick to you when you're out playing around in golf or at a picnic or out on the lake fishing, whatever it is. And with fall right around the corner, prepare, get ready with some performance hoodies. They're soft. You won't want to take them off. They're built for comfort, but also for activity. So here's the deal with Roback. All right, use the code DLLS20 on roback.com for a generous 20% off your first order. That's spelled RHOBACK.com. Don't forget the H. That's 20% off all polos, hoodies, shorts using code DLLS20. Make sure to check them out, and they will have whatever you need for whatever activities you do. All right, guys, coming up here, our friend Elvis Gallegos, the former TCU player and now a member of the award-winning TCU Horned Frogs radio team with Brian Estridge and Landry Burdine. Elvis was here. He's going to get back on. Until he does, our man Tanner is working on it. What do we got? Calling in. Hey-oh, there he is.
All right.
Elvis, what's going on?
Not a whole lot, Jeff. How you doing, man?
Doing real well. Thanks for joining the show. I wanted to ask you before we get going on Kansas and Houston, where were you during the SMU game when Sonny Dykes got ejected?
I was right behind him. I mean, I wasn't too far away from Coach when that all went down. Obviously, it started, with that great kickoff return. So I think I was moving up and down the sideline trying to check that out and trying to make sure I give a good report on the air, but quickly got called back, and then it just snowballed from there. So I was pretty close to the action.
Did he deserve it? Did he deserve the ejection?
Oh, come on, man. No. I'm with Coach on this one, or with anybody that's talked about it. The first one, that first penalty he got, it was probably 50-50 in my opinion, as far as, was it a hold or whatever. I can't remember exactly what the call was. But, I mean, that's a big play. You come out of the locker room, you get a huge play like that, and it's just what could ignite a team. And so that first penalty was one thing, okay, but that second one, just completely out of line. I mean, that's not really what the officiating crew's job is to do, is diffuse the situation, not add to it. It almost felt like they were looking for something there to build off of it. And so sure enough, yeah, I didn't like it. I'm against the call, and he did not deserve to be ejected.
Yeah, you played for Gary Patterson, and as you know, he was a little vocal himself. And Gary, I never saw Gary get a flag even, I don't think. So, I mean, I think somebody had some rabbit ears or wanted some TV attention on that ref staff. But, whatever, it's over with now. And I thought the Frogs showed some good resolve Saturday against Kansas and bounced back. Did Kansas give up on the run game too soon, or did TCU do something to make them go to the air?
I think I think that's what the talk is right now. Offense coordinator Grimes, Jeff Grimes, is being talked about as just abandoning the run early for Kansas. There's moments that I could see how people could see that he probably got away from things early on. But man, you got to really give the Frogs a lot of credit here. I really just, and they weren't looking good. I mean, gosh, you look at that first quarter,
Right.
especially starting off, fumbling the football, they march straight down. You get a penalty right off the bat, and a 15-yard penalty, which the Frogs have been just so penalized this year. And then Kansas, punches it in. That place was rocking too early on, man. It was a good crowd, but it ended up just kind of settling in. I think the coaches made really good adjustments. I loved what I saw up front. I get the problems that the Frogs have, which you'll probably ask me about that, but
Yep.
I think they made some appropriate changes that needed to be made. Guys got a little tougher, started getting a little bit more nasty. I mean, obviously I'm on the sideline, so that is a pulse that I'm constantly just gauging of what is the, energy level, what's the leadership like, what are they talking about? And so I don't necessarily, I agree. I see what people saw. It just, hey, Kansas got away from the run game, but I also think that Daniels they couldn't get him going. For Kansas to be operating as a top 25 preseason team in a potential playoff, you got to have the trigger man playing well, and he just has not.
Right.
He has struggled to, just get going in the air, kind of creating opportunities for him. And I think that's what Grimes is trying to do, is going, I've got to get this guy going. I can't just, rely on Neal in the run game. And, they're a good football team, but they're struggling right now.
Yeah. So the adjustments you saw, are they mental, like tougher? It seemed like the practices last week might have been harder and a little more physical, but I'm sure there were some scheme things that got changed that, believe me, I know nothing about. I'm a baseball guy.
Well, let me tell you one of my favorite moves that I think people are starting to talk about, and that's Marcus Deal, interior lineman. I mean, this interior defensive lineman for the Frogs, I think the world of. He's big, man. I mean, he's probably all of 6'5", 330 plus. And he's young. I mean, he's a young kid. And so at times you see the immaturity. Maybe at times you see he's not. I'm sure you trust the coaching staff on this, say maybe he's not quite ready. But the Frogs have really struggled to stop the run game. And it starts with those interior guys. I don't think Timon Mitchell and Caleb Fox have really played up to the level that people were expecting them to. Not to say that they can't get there or that they're not great players. But that has been a position that's just been moved too much inside, especially a lot of the run action, a lot of the run game that they had seen in the interior line. And so to me, Marcus Deal was probably one of the biggest changes that they made in allowing that big boy to kind of grow on the fly and get reps. He actually reminds me of a guy, you may remember, Ross Blacklock.
Oh, yeah.
Plays for the Frogs. Yeah. So, the talk about Ross early on was he's a baby, he's young, he's not ready. But you got to let him go. He's got to make mistakes, and he's got to learn from them and move on. And you saw the guy became just a big-time player, played at the next level. That's what I see in Marcus. I mean, he can be that kind of player. So, little things like that. I think you saw a lot more rotations at certain places. But probably the other thing that I noticed that was huge for the Frogs is the corner position. Everybody probably knows of the injuries that they've had. Avery Helm was a huge blow for the Frogs. I mean, Avery Helm going down, he's a long, rangy, ball hawk kind of guy in the secondary. He gets hurt before the season. And against Stanford, JT Broughton tore it up at corner. I mean, he really did. He took out one of the better receivers in the country that Stanford had, and you thought you were okay. But then somewhere along the way, and it was in the second half against Central Florida, where you begin to see him lose his confidence. And it has snowballed, in my opinion, to the point where the guy's just not he's not playing with confidence. Channing Canada steps in.
Yeah.
And here's a guy that a lot of people were expecting a lot of things. So, in my opinion, he probably came in with a little too much pressure on him, being one of the top, or if not the top corner, a JUCO corner coming out of the country. And he played really well. I mean, he really stepped in. And in the coverage that Avalos wants to do, they had to get an extra safety in the box. They didn't do that well against SMU. So they had to get a safety in the box. You had to play with more guys stopping the run, which means those guys are going to be on an island. They're going to get, you might even give up some big plays.
Yeah.
And Channing played well. I really thought he stepped up. So you combine a little interior move and a little secondary move, and I think I love Avalos on the bench. He's on the sideline. He did that in the second half of SMU, where he came down and started working with his guys from field level. And man, I love what I saw. It was just a really gutsy, great win for the Frogs.
I wanted to ask you about Avalos coming down to the sidelines. He's going to stay there. Sonny Dykes said. How does that help with the coordinator hands on instead of up above in the booth?
Well, I mean, I think you'd have to ask him what he's probably seeing differently on the field. To me, it's all relational. To me, this is he is now, I mean, he's in charge of that defense, and those guys are following that leader. And what I've noticed is the way he spends time, even with JT, man, he got on the bench. JT brought in the corner, made a few penalties, and was just struggling. And he went over there, Jeff, and he got a one-on-one. He got really close to him, got in his ear, and just was talking to him, just building him up. He knows we're going to need him down the stretch. We're going to need him for you're going to need depth at that position because you're lacking it. And I think what he's really good at, number one, is talking, getting guys, motivated, getting guys excited. But also he's really good about asking them, what are you seeing? So what that tells me is he's willing to adapt to what the guys are talking and seeing. He spends the majority of his time within the backers and that stud position, those outside backers, inside backers. And he really works with those guys really well. But to me, it's more of a relational. He's intense when he has to be. He's really motivated. I mean, he's starting to lose his voice. It reminds you of GP some because he's at halftime. He's really intense with them and motivating. And I think that's what this group needs because at times I don't feel like it's a skill thing. You know what I'm saying? It's just more of a drive and a motivation. So I've loved the move.
It seems like I know he's just installing the system. This is his first year, but do you like the system going forward once things are in place and ingrained?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I'm a 4-2-5 guy, so I'm pretty familiar with what he's trying to do, and I do like that. But let me tell you what I do like that Coach is doing is he's coaching his butt off, and I think a lot of this staff is, man. Everybody is this losing to SMU in the fashion that we did, and that second half meltdown. It was really a fourth quarter meltdown against UCF. Has everybody just shooken up. But I think what I've seen a lot from these coaches, they're coaching their butt off. And you've seen Coach Avalos throw the kitchen sink at people. We've seen a three-man front. You've seen guys come from all sorts of angles and trying to blitz. We've seen a lot of twists and moves and drops, and he's just doing everything he can. He's trying to ignite and see something. But I do love the style of play that he does. I think it's more now of players got to play. I think the corner position, he plays it more with physicality, more in your face, more on an island, probably very similar to what Gary Patterson did back in the day. So you got to start recruiting those kind of guys. I think Lamarian James Scud, the cornerback, is that kind of style. He's a quick guy that can press you and play quick and fast. He's probably quicker than he is fast. But, I think the linebackers are going to have to start playing more downhill. One of the biggest things that I think that we've struggled, because everybody wants to talk about the lack of not being able to stop the run. There's no doubt. I mean, that's real. That's tough. But you got to get off blocks. This is not – I'm not putting this all on the players. I'm not going to put it all on the coaching staff. But there's a little bit across the board. And one of the biggest things that I was always taught as a player, as a coach, is block destruction. You're always looking for backers that can get off of blocks. Guys, we've gotten hung up at times. They get to us in the second level, and we can't get off of them. You got to be able to blow it up. You got to be able to read it, see where it's coming from, how to play with good leverage. So those are things that are not have to do with Coach Avalos. But I've really liked him so far, man.
So real quick, I mean, the Frogs are 1-1 in conference play. They got a chance to go to 2-1 against Houston. It seems like the Frogs have a chance here. They still have their goals in front of them.
They do. I don't want to get overly excited because there's a lot for this group that still they've got to fix. I mean, the third down issues, and I'm talking about third and longs. Those are you can't have that. You can't have, third and nines go for 16 or third and 16 go for 30 plus. Like those are big holes, and you got to fix that. And even on offense, we're starting to see a little bit of a run game there. I think a few of the changes that Coach made up front. I love the move, offensive line move. But you got to believe that they got a great matchup coming up against Houston this week. And it's a good one because obviously on paper you're going to say the Frogs should win this one. But I think you're going to get a really motivated Houston team, and that's going to hopefully tell us a little bit more about the Frogs. And all of a sudden you get a bye week and you go to Salt Lake City with the team that's starting to look a little, wavering a little bit on just that being that preseason Big 12 champion. And you start to say, man, if they can get Houston going and they go and take it in Salt Lake City, the confidence is going to be through the roof for this team. And I really believe with the way Hoover's playing, because again, at the end of the day, it comes down to who the quarterback is, right? We've got a really good one, man. I'm not just saying that because I'm a Frog. I'm telling you right now, this guy's for real. And so you get a little confidence, you fix some things, and you go get a big road win at Salt Lake City with the quarterback that you have. Everything's right in front of them. They can still get to Arlington, but it's going to be a tough task still, no doubt.
All right, guys. Elvis, thanks for joining us. We got to let you go. Got some ads to read, but I'll see you Friday night out at the Carter, and look forward to it.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Jeff. Appreciate you.
All right, Elvis. Thanks. That was Elvis Gallegos from the TCU radio broadcast team. JP Richardson coming up momentarily, and we'll get to him right after this. JP may not know this. He might be listening on. He might have called in. But at some point when he becomes a homeowner, he's going to need carpet and flooring. And Empire today is the place to go. You get shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation on a low price guarantee. Empire is the best place to get new flooring. That's all they do. They do hardwood and carpets. You're not gonna go in there and go to a big box store and ask somebody about hardwood floors and get a guy who's out selling lawnmowers. All right, you're gonna get experts at their field. Empire's philosophy is to help you find what you need and to not overwhelm you with all these choices. They have a virtual floor designer, which is a great way to see how the floors will look in your space. Just do it on your phone. Easy, snap a picture, bang, it's on there. They service their own warranties, and I think that's really big as somebody who's had some warranty issues here lately. So you definitely see that as an advantage. So here's what you need to do. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive $350 off when they use the promo code DLLS. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DLLS for details. And with all that extra money you're going to be saving on your floors, that gives you money to go to a concert or a ball game, comedy show, whatever, and do it at last-minute tickets through the Game Time app. All right? It is probably about the handiest app you can get in this market. It has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting your tickets for your favorite live events even easier. It gets rid of the fluff. Shows you only the best deals on seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. You can see what your view is. You get a panoramic view, so you know if this ticket's behind a rafter or not. It's just hard to beat this Game Time stuff. It's all in pricing, and that's a big one when it comes to secondary market. This way you're not surprised with any add-ons at the end. And it's a low price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. All right, so take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code DLLS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms and conditions apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code DLLS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. And it's also time for JP Richardson. There he is. The wide receiver, the senior from Missouri City, great football player down there, a great track guy too, as I recall. How we doing, JP?
Good, man. How about you?
We're doing very good. Thank you for joining us. You follow in the long line of guests. Jack Besh, your wide receiver pal, was on, and then Nana Asafu-Mensah last week, who talked defense. So. I guess with you though, we got to talk about special teams right now. So what is it like returning a punt for a TD? Well, I mean, like, what has to happen, and just kind of bobbing and weaving. What's it like?
Sure. So Yeah, just heading into the week, we knew that I was going to have opportunities to be able to take punts just because of the hang time that the Kansas kicker was given all year. And so going in, Coach Tomerdahl just during practice was really harping on, like buckle up, like you're going to have chances to go. And we just wanted to make sure our game plan was to kind of handle the Gunners. They had a good one, number 7. He does a lot on special teams for them, and so we knew if we handled him and the other gunner that we'd be rolling. So we had a middle return called, and yeah, so they actually punted one, and it was a penalty or a false start, I think. And so caught that one, threw it back, and then had the same return on middle return, and they kicked it, and I caught it, and um, Caden McFadden made a great block. I know it's a controversial call or whatever,
Yeah.
but from my view, it was a great block. It was right on the hip, and it kind of sparked it. And then after that, man, like really just black out. You know what I mean? Like you're just react. I'm just reacting like to just what's going on in front of me. Just kind of just playing ball.
Yeah.
And so yeah, make a few cuts, and all of a sudden I blink and I'm up on the punter, and I make it that far. Can't let him get me. So
No.
yeah, can't let that happen. So I made him miss, and then just it was time to unhitch the wagon, and there was a lot of really great blocks along the way, and just so happy I got to do that. Punt return was heading into this season probably the biggest goal for me. Just even over just any offensive goals or receiving
Yeah.
goals. Like I really wanted to be able to change the game this year and just add, more value to myself, for the next level and whatnot, with punt return. And so, like I said, man, I'm just so blessed to have the opportunity to be back there and, try to change the game for our team.
How tired are you at the end of? How tired were you? Were you gasping for
Yeah,
air, or were
I,
you just too
I
fired
was.
up?
It was a little bit of both. Like I was so fired up, and I had all my guys coming up to me, and I'm still out of breath, and I'm just like you said, fired up. I'm yelling and all that, and they sat me down and got me on the oxygen mask, though, like the little thing you put over your face. So yeah, they had me off, all good after that. So I was just happy about it, definitely. But we still had a whole quarter to play, so kind of want
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
forget about it and then get ready for the next drive.
Yeah. All right. So, in addition to your special teams, 20 receptions, even though Jack Best has become a ball hog, it seems like the passing game though is really flourishing, and I think it's a combination of guys like you, Savion Williams, Jack, seniors who've been around for a long time, doing it. How is the offense flowing right now? It looks, at least the passing game looks really good.
It's been great, man. And it's just a testament to all the work that we've put in, in the off season, all the way from, a week after the season ended last year. Hoover's done a spectacular job just all the way to, January, like I said, just, making sure all the guys are, catching balls with them and making sure that we don't leave, any regrets. Like you just said, it's my last year, and it's Savion's last year, Jack's last year, and JoJo Earl's last year. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a lot of guys, last go around. So, like, we didn't want to leave anything, go back and having
Have any
regrets. Like,
regrets?
man, I
Yeah.
wish, right, just wishing you would have put in more work. And so, like you said, yeah, just a veteran group, and we all love each other, so much. I mean. We're gonna go have dinner tonight. Me, Jack, and Savion and Hoover, and we're just gonna go. We do it every Wednesday. Just go pick a spot. Last week we had what was it? We went to a what do you call it? Where they the hibachi
Oh,
place. What was
okay.
it? I don't know what it's called. Over by the Best Buy.
All right.
Um, but yeah, so like I said, yeah,
What are we
just
doing?
we're
What are we
really
doing
tight
tonight?
knit. I think we're going to Maria's. I think that's
Okay.
the start.
Solid.
Yeah, I think
I
that's the
love their
start.
chips.
Very good.
Yes.
Very good.
Yeah.
Um,
And
but
you
yeah,
guys,
man.
well, that's great. Last year was your first year, but it was also Kendall Bryle's first year. Um, and all the trappings that come with installing a new system. Year two has got to be 100 times better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We were miles ahead of where we were last season to start, spring ball. Learning a new offense is not easy, and especially, Coach Browse, we like to do a lot, and we got a lot of stuff. I mean, we do a lot of stuff. It's just what it is, and so it was a little bit, last year had some bumps and whatnot, but this year, I mean, we were just able to kind of just get right into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just get rolling immediately, and I think having kind of a year with the offense under our belt definitely helped. And this year, I mean, we're just going to continue to grow, continue to get better. That's just, the thing about this group offensively is we just still make so many mistakes, and there's just so much room for improvement. And that's the scary part. We're I think just still scratching the surface of what we can be, what we will be. So I'm just, pumped to suit up this Friday. Um, and
Yeah.
yeah, just looking to improve every week.
See, yeah, really, to your point, it seems like you guys are the only ones stopping yourselves with be it turnovers or an untimely penalty. It seems like you clean that up. How do you clean that up? Just paying attention to the little things?
It's the little things, just exactly. That's exactly it. Just got to be more careful with the ball security. Hoover, he knows that, and that goes for us too. We're fumbling the ball. I had a fumble week one. It's little things like that, man. Just you can't take. You gotta have the thought in your mind that that ball is $10 billion in your hands. Like, would you drop it if you had 10 billion? I don't think you would. So,
Yeah, no
just
doubt
little things
about it.
like that, and just understanding that everybody's just all you got to do is do your job. Don't try to be Superman every play. Just, go out there and do your responsibility the best that you can every single play, and the result will likely be pretty good. So we just got to stay, chipping away and learning from the film and just learning from our mistakes and not making the same one again.
All right. As a lot of people probably know, your dad is Bucky Richardson, who famously was the quarterback, a folk hero at Texas A&M. Your grandpa, I didn't know this, played for the Cowboys. Have an uncle who played at Texas Tech. Did you have any other choice but to play football? Did you have to be a football player?
Yeah, I had no choice. I literally had zero choice. Now, I fell in love with the game. I mean, so young. Just obviously being around my dad, and my grandpa was he was a football coach, and I just, you know what I mean, just growing up going to A&M games and being able to kind of be around those players and stuff. I was really close with Kevin Sumlin growing up, and his kids, Jackson Sumlin,
Uh-huh.
JoJo Sumlin, and so yeah, I was just able to kind of be in that A&M locker room and stuff growing up, and
Yeah.
be on the field and run out the tunnel and ask for the guys' gloves. Like, I was that kid doing all that. So like it's I mean, my dream was to play college football. My dream was never, be an NFL player. It was just always
Yeah.
to play college football and be just like those, the Ryan Swope and Christian
Oh,
Kirks
sure.
and those guys. So I mean, those were my idols, and yeah, I'm just so, blessed to be here at TCU, and um, it's really been amazing.
I cover baseball. I'm a Rangers beat writer, and this weekend one of the radio guys or the TV guys was asking, would you rather watch college football or NFL? You get one choice for the rest of your life. You can only watch college football or the NFL, and it's an easy choice. I don't know why
There's no
anybody would
debate.
say the NFL. There's nothing like college football. It's fantastic, and to be a part of it, both through your father and your own experiences, has to be like the thrill of a lifetime. So congratulations on all of that. Congratulations on the season you're having. The punt return touchdown. I am a TCU graduate, so go out and beat Houston Friday night. I will try to be at the game, and hopefully we can shake hands and enjoy a story afterwards. So thanks for
Yes,
coming
sir.
on, man. I
Yes, sir. Yeah, I
appreciate you.
appreciate it.
All
Yes,
right,
sir. Thank you for having
you
me.
got it. That's JP Richardson, the TCU wide receiver, the reigning Big 12 special teams player of the week for that 89-yard punt return against Kansas that shaped the game. And we got Jamie Plunkett coming up here in about, I don't know, 2 minutes. But first, I got to tell you about what it means to be a diehard member at DLLS. That is our premium membership. It gets you everything. All right. Access to everything. It's $79.99, which is going to be cheaper than the Fort Worth newspaper. It's going to be cheaper than the Dallas newspaper. It's cheaper than any legacy media out there. All right. And you get all four professional sports, coverage of all four professional sports. TCU coverage is coming up now that baseball season is over. I'm able to spread my wings a little bit more. And there will be stuff that goes behind the paywall, and we want you to read it. And you get a free shirt. All right. The shirts are valued at $35. So you subtract 35 from $79.99. You can do the math. It's a hell of a deal, basically, is what we're saying. So go to alldlls.com/join-diehard to become a member right this very second. All right. And then, since you got to pick out your shirt, you need to go to store.allcitynetwork.com for some merch. And there is a TCU shirt. Mine is in the mail. It's pretty sweet looking. There's the logo right there of the Horned Frog. That's what comes on the shirt. But we've got Rangers, Stars, Mavs, Cowboys. I'm not going to mention the school in Dallas. University of Texas. I probably shouldn't mention them either. But anyway, I did. And if you go there, T-shirts, sweatshirts we have, hats are coming. Everybody who knows me throughout the years knows that I wear a hat everywhere I go. Basically, the shower and bed's the only place I don't have a hat on. So, look, store.allcitynetwork.com. That's the place to get the merch. Wear it, show it off, run into me, and I will buy you an ice cream. All right? Sounds good. All right, Jamie Plunkett alert for everybody fired up. There he is. Jamie not in his home studio. I know exactly where he is. I'm glad I'm giving you a break. Thanks for joining us yet again. You are now 4 for 4, Jamie. You're a regular. And for your efforts, at some point I'll buy you a beer.
Oh, I mean, that'd be great. I saw you recently, and you didn't buy me an ice cream. So,
well, you didn't have a shirt. You need a shirt for the ice cream. Yeah. A beer, though, we can try to take care of that. I'm trying to go to the game Friday night, so let's plan it out. Okay, you went to Kansas.
I did.
How was that drive?
It was good. Look, I've had several people, including my wife, tell me that I'm a little weird. I'm wired a little different when it comes to driving. So, Jeremy Clark, my buddy over at Horned Frog Blitz, got in my car at about 4:00 in the morning. We hit the road. We were parking at Arrowhead at about 11:30. So,
really,
it was nice. Yeah, nice little drive. Didn't take too long. Hopped right back in the car afterwards. Melissa Treebwasser, my podcast co-host, hopped in with us on the way back. Dropped her off at about 4. Got in bed about 4:30 at my place, and just nice little 25-hour day.
Did you sleep at all? I mean, you got there early. You didn't sneak into a booth or something and try to catch us a nap?
Nope. I drove the whole way there, did all the game stuff, drove the whole way back. Jeremy was his little passenger princess, and we made it all work.
All right. A lot of Mountain Dew. What kept you awake? Adrenaline?
I'm pretty straightforward, man. I'm a black coffee, almonds, and water guy. Like, I'm very boring when it comes to car rides, but
all right.
I don't know. It works for me.
All right, that works. I'm glad for you. What did you see? Seemed like you saw the offense continue. JP Richardson, who you might have just heard, make something special, and then the defense kind of showing up.
Yeah, it was really nice to see the defense have a decent day. 14 points in the first 2 possessions for Kansas. Got off to that rocky start like we've seen the last few weeks, but then they really buckled down. They only gave up 13 points over the next 10 drives, which was really nice to see. And one of the bigger changes that I noticed was Andy Avalos went from the coach's booth down to the sideline after halftime. So that was a little bit of a coaching change that Sonny made. He talked about it midweek earlier this week and said that that's going to be their way that they operate moving forward. As long as it's more successful than what they've seen in recent weeks, they're going to keep Andy on the sideline. And I said this on my show earlier this week. I really like that call because Andy is such a hands-on football coach. I mean, you were out there this fall, I was out there this fall, and he constantly had hands-on guys, showing them technique, adjusting them at the line as they were, going through team drills and one-on-ones and that kind of stuff. And it's just impossible to do that when you're up in the booth. So getting him back on the sideline, getting him back in contact with his players in the middle of the game, I think is going to be really beneficial for the defense in the long run.
Yeah, well, that's good. And, when you're putting in a new system, and you have new players. I mean, well, it's new to everybody, but still, it's not. You can try to practice it in spring drills and fall drills, but until you're on the field and game speed against other guys, it's just not the same. And so that's good. I mean, because something had to change. And really, if you're going to make Jalen Daniels throw the ball 36 times, that's like an ideal scenario.
Really, truly. Shout out to Jeff Grimes. I don't know what the offensive game plan was for Kansas, but anytime you have a defense coming in that's given up over 500 rushing yards in the past 2 weeks, it's definitely a good idea to throw the ball a lot. So I don't know what's going on up there in Lawrence with Daniels in that offense, but they're in some sort of way right now, and TCU's defense managed to capitalize on it. The other side of that coin too is that TCU actually got the run game going a little bit,
Yeah.
which was nice to see. Jeremy Payne popped off a few good runs. Cam Cook got rolling in the fourth quarter on a drive that took over 6 minutes of time as TCU was doing a little bit of clock kill. Really just overall a nice performance from TCU after 2 tough weeks.
Yeah. You talk about Kansas struggling. This Big 12 is crazy, man. What I don't think, you have BYU, that one's out of nowhere. Colorado, maybe out of nowhere. Tech, after the opener, probably out of nowhere. But they're 2-0. The favorite, Utah, gets knocked off. Is this as wide open as it looks, or is the cream at the top?
Oh, it's completely wide open. Nobody knows when Cam Rising's coming back, if he's ever coming back. Oklahoma State has looked pretty bad the last couple of weeks. They were supposed to be one of the front runners in the conference. Like you mentioned, Colorado and Texas Tech are both sitting there at 2-0. I don't think many people saw that coming. And so if you're a TCU fan right now, you're looking at the rest of your schedule thinking, okay, well, we get Houston on Friday night. That feels like a good opportunity. Then you have a bye week going into a Utah team that might not have Cam Rising. You get Texas Tech at home. You get Oklahoma State at home. You travel to Baylor, where Dave Aranda's seat is on fire, if not already. Like it will be at that point if it isn't already. And then you travel to a Cincinnati team that looked pretty good, but ended up losing in the last few minutes there at Texas Tech on Saturday. So I think after the 2 weeks of UCF and SMU, to beat Kansas and then look at the rest of your schedule and how wide open things are, TCU fans have, I think, maybe stepped back from the ledge, and if they haven't yet, they should.
Yeah. Matthew Farmer went into the chat and asked, does TCU defense stop Houston like everyone else has? Houston is back-to-back shutouts. That's hard to do.
Yeah, they've only scored 52 points this year, and 33 of those came against Rice. So if TCU has given up, more than 17, 20 points in this game, that's probably cause for concern. I don't know if they get the shutout. Houston's a team that likes to run. They've got 2 mobile quarterbacks that they work with, but
yeah,
this is definitely an opportunity. As I was talking to some Houston folks earlier this week, they're like, Houston's the get right game for everybody this year. So maybe it'll be that for TCU's defense this weekend.
Well, the old saying is, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. So that might explain a lot. Tanner McKinney chimed in. I think Cam Cook should stay the starter and keep using Payne, get them both going to open the pass more. And it seems like that's what Sonny Dykes said yesterday, that Payne, the true freshman, is gonna get some more involvement in the offense.
Yeah, he's come along really nicely since he got on campus in August, and we saw obviously what he was able to do against the Jayhawks on Saturday up at Arrowhead. I think the snap count split for the two of them was 40 to Cam Cook and 26 to Payne. And I wouldn't be surprised if that gap closed a little bit if Payne got the snaps that Dominique Johnson was getting. We haven't seen any Trey Sanders really yet this year as well. So I think at this point it's going to be a running back duo of Cam Cook and Jeremy Payne, and that seems to be pretty effective. But one of the reasons that was effective on Saturday is because they made a couple changes along the offensive line. Ben Taylor Whitfield got the start at right tackle over Michael Nichols. We're seeing Remington Strickland get a lot more snaps at right guard in place of Carson Bruno. Bruno still got the start, but I don't know how much longer that's going to be the case. And it seemed to solidify that right side of the offensive line, and that's what TCU was trying to run behind, especially Cam Cook in that fourth quarter. They were running behind the right side of the line really, really well. And so that's something to keep an eye on moving forward.
Remington, that's quite a name. Remington Strickland made me think of Remington Steele. And then that made me think, how old are his parents? And do they remember Stephanie Zimbalist and Pierce Brosnan? I don't know. If you do. All right, that's
I
how.
don't.
Yeah, I'm
So,
pretty
but
old.
I'm not as old as Remington's parents, I'm sure.
Yeah. So after the presser yesterday, which I had to miss because the Rangers held their season-ending presser at the same time, it's basketball season, for crying out
Yeah,
loud.
baby.
Jamie Dixon and Mark Campbell talked. Where are those programs right now? As Midnight Madness is coming up.
Yeah, about a month away from the season. Very exciting time. You know, they've both started practice. They're both working out multiple times a week. Jamie Dixon mentioned that the men's team is having an open practice, like open to the public, not an open practice audition, at 2 o'clock on Friday before the football game. So if TCU fans are in the area, stop by Schollmeyer, go watch the men's team practice for a little bit before you head over to TCU Houston. But I think both of these teams are in pretty good shape heading into the season. They're healthy, so knock on wood that stays the same way. And both teams are really trying to integrate a really strong group of transfers into the program. And I think they're having a lot of success doing that. In the past couple summers, Dixon has complained on the men's side about guys not finishing up classwork at their old school or having to stay, like transcript issues
Yeah.
or guys getting banged up. But it doesn't seem like they've really had any of those issues this summer. Everybody's been in town since June. They've been having really good workouts for the last 4 months or so. And he likes the way that they're progressing. And that's really good because this is a younger team than we're used to seeing for TCU men's basketball. They've got 4 true freshmen, 3 of which are probably going to see significant minutes. They've got 2 kids that redshirted last year that are going to see significant minutes. They've got 1 returning starter that played for them at all last year, and that's center Ernest Uday. So
Yeah.
a lot of new faces, a lot of guys that haven't played a ton of basketball. They've been getting after it. And then on the women's side, Mark Campbell, he's a very intense guy. I really like talking to him. And he spoke yesterday, similar things, just integrating this transfer class that includes LSU transfer Haley Van Lith, Maddie Shear from Kentucky, Donovan Hunter, who as a true freshman started every game for Oregon State last year when they made it all the way to the Elite Eight. Really impressive transfer class on that side as well. I think it's going to be a good year to be a TCU basketball fan all the way around.
Yeah, Campbell had to hit the portal. Last year, his first year, had some really good success there. And then they had the injury so bad they had to have it forfeit in a damn open tryout. Kind of crazy how that came about. And then Jamie, I think he hates the transfer portal. I think that it just can't stand it. I was a little disappointed to see Micah Peavy go to Georgetown, but it just seems like the veteran teams through the transfer portal have been some of the better teams. So these guys need to grow up fast. But James Posey, Isaiah Manning, the guys from last year, looking forward to seeing them. But it starts, and then on the women's side is tough, but Big 12 basketball for the men, it's brutal. It's the best conference there is in college basketball.
It's a gauntlet, and they're expanding the conference slate this year. They're going from 18 to 20 games. So you have 2 more opportunities to see how good this team is in the Big 12. It's one of those things to watch. Jamie Dixon's never had a record above 500 in conference play since he's been at TCU. He's gotten to 500 a couple times, but can he get over that hump? Can he get the Frogs past 500 into the top half of the conference? It gets a lot harder this year when you're adding Arizona and Colorado and Arizona State and BYU and Utah and everybody else. Even if you lose Oklahoma and Texas, I think Dixon made the comment on Tuesday, we're losing 2 middle or bottom tier basketball teams and we're adding Arizona. And so I don't know if Texas and Oklahoma fans are going to be too pleased with that comment, but he's right to an extent.
He's right
because Texas was decent. Oklahoma wasn't very good the last couple of years, and you're adding one of the more traditional blue blood programs in the country in Arizona. But I'll say this for the women too. I mean, Mark Campbell has a pretty stark different approach to the non-conference slate from Dixon, who schedules pretty soft teams in the early fall. They're hosting defending national champ South Carolina at Dickies Arena this fall. They've got Final Four team NC State coming to the Schollmeyer. He has built a gauntlet of a non-conference schedule to get his team ready for Big 12 play, because his expectation is not that, oh, hey, we're going to make the tournament. Hey, we're going to be above 500, this, that.
Yeah.
He wants to win the conference. He wants to make a deep run, even though it's just year 2 for him at TCU. And I think he's got the team to do it.
Yeah, his history when he was an assistant at Oregon State and Oregon, they turned programs around real quick, and then he went to Sacramento State and had turned them around from a single-digit win team into a tournament team. So trying to do the same thing here. And then the Men Open Conference play December 30th against Arizona. So you're going right into the hopper and seeing what you got right off the bat. Jamie, what did you have on the Frogs Insider podcast with Melissa Trebweiser this week?
Melissa sat down with Ryan from GoCougs.com to preview the TCU Houston game, and then I did what's always very dangerous, is I asked Horned Frog Blitz, my message board, for questions, and then I didn't read them. I didn't read them beforehand when I hit record, and then I just started scrolling and answering those questions aloud, kind of just free form. That's on the episode this week. We're going to have a guest host next week to help me break down the TCU Houston game because Melissa's out of town. Tentatively, Marshall Newhouse will be joining me on that show. Very excited. So y'all get over to Frogs Insider and check that one out.
All right. That's Jamie Plunkett, 247 Sports, Horned Frog Blitz, all that stuff. Jamie, thanks. We will have you on again next week, hopefully talking about another Frogs win. Take care, and I'll see you Friday night.
Sounds great, man. See you Friday.
All right, bud. All right, guys. Episode 4 is in the books. Best one yet. Tanner agrees. No question about it. We'll be back next week. We're going to talk Frogs Houston bye week. What's going to happen during the bye? Jamie will be on. We'll scare up a couple other guests. Maybe we got to get Estridge on and see if he started wearing pants around the house again. So anyway, that is it. That is the All Horned Frogs podcast. We will see you next week.
We all silly like the mayor.